Hello everyone, welcome back to the lecture series on Foundations of Deep Learning, Concepts and Applications. In my previous lecture, we have discussed about the standard CNN architectures and their working. In today's session, we will talk about image segmentation, which is a task for which we use CNN models. So the contents of today's lecture series goes like Introduction to Image Segmentation, Need for image segmentation, types of image segmentation, and unit architecture for image segmentation. Before we go to image segmentation, let us quickly have a glance into what is classification, localization, and object detection in computer vision. Suppose I have pictures of various animals, and here I have shown one picture of a zebra. So it is a single object, and my CNN, if it can classify it as a zebra, then it is a classification task. In this figure, we see there is a bounding box around the zebra. So this is a task which is called as classification and localization, which means that we are localizing the place of the animal in the entire picture. Then we have another case where we have multiple objects. In this third picture, we have an image of an elephant, a horse, and a zebra all together in the same image. And there are bounding boxes around all these various animals, separate bounding boxes, and this is called as object detection. So whatever objects are there in that image, the model is making a box around all these, and this is called as object detection. Now we will come to image segmentation. What exactly is image segmentation? So in computer vision techniques, there is a process that divides a digital image to distinct pixel groups known as image segments to aid in object detection and similar task. Suppose we have an image where a lot of objects are present and our region of interest is one particular object. Then if the image is processed in such a way that the pixels of various objects of that image, they are highlighted in various colors, then we call it as an image segmentation. So we will have a look into the picture and it will become more clear now. So I have one picture which is having a dog and two cats, okay, and there is some background. Now in this picture, what we see, the dog, the entire dog structure have been made blue in color, the cats are in green color. This is called as segmentation. Okay. Now here we see the dog is blue in color, fine. There are two cats. The first one is identified as cat 1 and the second one is identified as cat 2. In this first figure, it was only cat, and in the second figure, it has identified both the cats as separate cats. So the first type is called as semantic segmentation, where the cats get the same color. The pixels of the cat is having the same color green, whereas in the second one, which is called as the instant segmentation, cat 1 is, the pixels of cat 1 is having green color and the pixels of cat 2 are having red color. So these are the different types of segmentation. One is semantic segmentation, another one is instant segmentation. Now the question arises, why do we require this image segmentation? What is the need? Image segmentation helps to extract the object of interest from an image, which is further used for processing like recognition and description. So as I was telling, whatever is the region of interest in an image, it is quite likely that the entire image, the objects that are present in the whole image, all the objects are not of my interest, So if we can separate out my region of interest from the other things, then it becomes much easier for processing like recognition of that object and description of that object. Okay? So, that is the main need for image segmentation. Now, we come to a term which we will be using quite frequently in this lecture, that is segmentation mask. What is this segmentation mask? A segmentation mask is a specific portion of an image that is isolated from the rest of the image. As I was showing there, so this is a segmentation mask of that previous picture, which is having one dog and two cats, and you see the background is black and the dog is blue in color and the two cats are green in color. So, the background pixels have got dark black color, the pixels of the dog have got blue color, and pixels of the cat, they have got green color. So, this is the segmentation mask for the actual picture, which we have seen in the previous slide. Segmentation mask should be of the same size as the original image, because when we put or overlap the segmentation mask over the original image, it should fit exactly size to size. The object sizes should fit exactly, overlap exactly with the original one. Okay. Now, we will see there are two types of segmentation masks that are possible. One is a binary mask and another one is a multiclass mask. So, we will see what is a binary mask and what is a multiclass mask. So, in a binary mask, look at this picture. There is some background and there is a car. Suppose my interest area or my region of interest is the car. Then I have done a segmentation mask where my car has become white in color, which has been highlighted, and the remaining portion is black in color. So, binary mask, in a binary mask, the pixels in the mask are set to a value of 1 or true for the region of interest, in this case the car, and 0 or false for the background. Okay. So, that is the case for binary mask. We have another kind of mask. What is that one? Which is a multiclass mask. Again, we will see the picture. So, the same picture I have taken with the dogs and the cats, and we have seen this is the image, of the background black and the dog is in blue color, the cats are in green color. So, what we have seen here is in multiclass mask, it can contain a unique value for each class, such as 0 for the background. So, 0 value which has given a black color to the background, 1 for the dog which is given blue color for the dog, and 2 for cats. That means the color 2 in each pixel of the cat gives the green color. Okay. So, any color it may take, but the thing is the different classes of objects in the image. Here the background is one class of object, here the dog is one class of object and the cats are one class of object. So, all these different classes of objects, they get unique values in the pixel color. So, that is about multiclass mask. Now, we will look into the architecture or the algorithm which is used for image segmentation, okay, which is the architecture is called as unit architecture. Now, what is that unit architecture? We will see. If we see the picture, this picture has been taken from the original paper where unit architecture was first introduced. It was introduced in 2015 for biomedical image segmentation in the paper Unit Convolution Networks for Biomedical Image Segmentation by Olaf Ronneberger, Philip Fisher and Thomas Brox. Okay. So, this is the reference paper. This structure or architecture looks very similar to the alphabet U. Okay. It is very similar to alphabet U. The structure is a U architecture or U-shaped architecture. Okay. And that is the reason it is called as unit architecture. We will look into how this unit architecture works, what are the different parts, and in my how each of these parts help in image segmentation, and we will see it in the next slide. Okay. Now, this unit architecture was introduced for biomedical image segmentation. Why specifically biomedical image segmentation? Suppose we have a patient who is having a tumor in the brain. Okay. Now, when CT scans or MRI scans are taken of that patient's brain, there are multiple things that are there together with the tumor in that scan image. Now, for the doctor, only the tumor portion is of importance. So, one way is to just see it visually and then find out which is the region of interest and then do the diagnosis based on that one. In this deep learning era, there is this unit architecture actually automates that task, which means it takes the image, the CT scan or the MRI scan, and then it segments out the part of the tumor. It shows in highlighted color that this is the part in the tumor. So, it becomes much easier for the doctor to look into the tumor rather than getting distracted to all the other noises and other objects that are present in the image. Okay. Now, with this small explanation, we will just look into one task in neural network which is called as downsampling and upsampling. Now, what is this one and how it is related to image segmentation? We will look. First, we will understand what is downsampling and upsampling. Suppose we have a feature map which is having height and width h and w, and then we do some operation which brings it down. The height and width are coming down or halved, h by 2 and w by 2. Again, some operation is happening for which again the spatial dimensions are reducing to half of that one. And if we continue that one, so this block will have h by 8 into w by 8, and then once more we are reducing the spatial dimension h by 16 into the w by 16. Now, this process is called downsampling. Now, what is the reason for downsampling? Why do we need it? It creates a lower resolution feature map that focuses on what is in the image rather than finer details. When we want to focus on a particular place in an image, it requires us to see, okay, this is the place where the tumor is, okay, rather than having all the finer details in the entire image. So, when we do a downsampling task, it creates a low resolution feature map. Low resolution feature map because when we are reducing the dimensions, somewhere the finer details are getting, they are getting, we are not getting them. Now, what happens is, in that case, we are not able to see what is there in each and every pixel of the image, but we have an idea what is there in the image. Okay? So, it is a low resolution feature map. And also it reduces the dimensionality of the data, thus enabling in faster processing of the image. So, why do we do the downsampling? Because it reduces the dimensionality which is required for faster processing. Now, from here you see the green block, what we have done, we have increased the dimension, we have doubled the dimension. So, here it is h by 8 into w by 8, and then once again another one operation which takes it to double the dimensions of this block, h by 4 into w by 4, then we go into half of h by 2 into w by 2, and then we have the final one which is h into w. So, we are coming back to our the first initial size of the feature map. Now, why do we require this one? This entire process is called as upsampling. So, this part is called as the downsampling and this part is called as the upsampling. Okay. Now, this upsampling reconstructs the image to the original size, okay, and is required for making a pixel by pixel segmentation mask that matches the original image dimension. As I was telling in my previous slide also, that the segmentation mask that we produce that needs to exactly match with the image dimensions, the initial image dimension. When we are coming down in the downsampling path, we are actually reducing the size. So after the image, the final image, it's the segmented map or segmentation map of the image should have the same size as that of the initial image. That is the reason the upsampling is required. Okay. Now we will come into the unit architecture, how it is working. So the unit architecture looks like this, as I have told, and there are two parts. This part is called as the encoder or the contracting path, which is coming down. This part, which is the going up part, it is called as the decoder or expanding path, and this part, the below part, it is called as the bottleneck. Okay. So we have encoder, decoder and bottleneck. Now we will see what exactly is the input and what is the output we are expecting. So the input is some image, okay, or image style, and output is the segmentation map. Okay. So that is the thing that we get from the unit architecture. Now we will look into each of these blocks separately. First we will look into the encoder block, how it works. Suppose we have an image of size 572 cross 572. Then of course the channel can be of size 3. If it is an RGB image, it can be 1. If it is a grayscale image, we have kept it only 572 by 572 here for simplicity. And then there is a 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding with ReLU. This is having 64 filters. Once we do a 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, the output size of the feature maps comes to 570 cross 570. Okay. Then once again, there is another layer of 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, and we get, this is also having 64 filters, and we get the feature map size as 568 cross 568. After these two layers of 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, then we have a 2 cross 2 max pooling of stride 2, which reduces the spatial dimensions to half of the original one. So original one was 568, the last one which is coming out of the convolution, and then half of that one is 284 by 284, and then it undergoes once again 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, and this is also having 128 filters, and the size here is 282 cross 282, and this once again goes through another layer of convolution, 3 cross 3, no padding and ReLU, and this convolution is also having 128 filters, and the output size is 280 cross 280. So what we have seen here is one thing I would like to bring your attention to. Here the number of filters was 64, here the number of filters are 128, which is double of this one. Okay. Then once again after this convolution layer, we again have a 2 cross 2 max pooling of stride 2, which reduces the dimensions to half, which is 140 cross 140, and then this undergoes once again 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, which gives a feature map. This convolution is having 256 filters, which is double of 128, and the size here is 138 cross 138, which is the output size given the input from here. 140 if it is the input size, 138 cross 138 is the output feature map size. And then once again there is a 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, and there is 256 filters in this layer also, and the output feature map is having 136 cross 136 size. Once again there is a max pooling layer, and here we have max pooling brings down the spatial dimensions to half. It is 68 cross 68, that is the dimension here. Again 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU. is applied, and we have here double the number of filters that was there in the last convolution layer, which is 512, double of 256, and here the spatial dimensions are 66 cross 66. Again, it is passing through a 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU of 512 filters, and the output size is 64 cross 64. So, this is the entire encoder block. Okay, so it comprises of two layers of convolution, max pooling, again 2 layers of convolution, max pooling, again 2 layers of convolution, max pooling, 2 layers of convolution. So, this is the way the image is getting downsampled. Okay, the size, the spatial dimensions are getting reduced, but the number of filters are increasing in each and every step of downsampling, and due to this, the features are getting extracted. So, we will have a look. Why do we need the encoder? It acts as a feature extractor, and it shrinks the image size while keeping the important information. That is what I want. If I have a CT scan where there is a tumor in the brain, I want to have the tumor information intact and in a very compressed size. That is what the encoder is doing. And why the number of filters are increasing in every step? Because we know more number of channels allow the model to capture higher level patterns. So, that is the reason the number of filters increase in every step. So, this is about the encoder. Then we will come to the bottleneck, which is the bottom of the U structure. So, if we remember, this was the last block of the encoder, 68 square, then these were convolution, it became 66 into 66, this is 64 into 64, and 512 was the number of filters in both these convolution layers. Now, from this, once again there is a max pooling, 2 cross 2 max pooling, stride 2, which reduces the dimensions. So, 64's dimension half is 32. So, it is 32 cross 32 size, and then once again it is going through 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, and here the number of filters is double of that one, 1024, and the size is 30 into 30, and another layer of convolution, no padding ReLU. This is having, once again, the size is here is 28 into 28 with the same number of channels. Okay. Now, this is till this one we were coming down, and this is the place we call as the bottleneck, which is the bottom of the U, and after this there is something which is called as the up convolution. Okay. We will look into it in the next slide. Now, why do we need the bottleneck layer? What is the significance? First of all, it's the bridge between the encoder and the decoder, because encoder will be this side, decoder will be that side, it is the bridge. It contains the most compressed, abstract and meaningful information in the image. Most compressed because we have come to the end of the downsampling, and the number of filters have been maximum, which have extracted the most meaningful information from the image. Okay. So, that is the use for the bottleneck layer. Now, we will look into the decoder block, how it works and what are the things that are there in the decoder. So, this is the image of the encoder. I have just kept it here so that we can continue from here. And if we see, after the bottleneck, there was a green arrow in my previous slide also, which is nothing but a 2 cross 2 up convolution. Now, this up convolution is just the opposite of max pooling. That means it increases the spatial dimension. When it is 2 cross 2 up convolution, it increases the spatial dimension or makes it double. The spatial dimensions become double. So, what happens here is, why do we require? So, that is the question. Why do we require the up convolution? If you see, here is the input image tile. Okay, we are inputting the input to the encoder is the image, which is like this, and at the end I want the segmentation map to come out, which should be having the same size as the input image. Okay, that is the reason we have to do the up convolution, because by this time in the encoder, by the process of downsampling, the image is not of the same size, it has been reduced drastically. Okay, so that is the reason. Now, after this up convolution, there is something which is coming from the encoder, which we call as the copy and crop, and this is a skip connection which is coming from the encoder towards the decoder, and there is, if we see this part, which is this blue part is coming from the up convolution and this white part is coming from the encoder. So this is a skip connection which is between the encoder and the decoder. Now why do we require this skip connection? The skip connection from the encoder helps the decoder get the spatial details that might have been lost when shrinking the image. So as I was telling, the image has been shrunken a lot in the entire downsampling work, but during the downsampling, it is possible that some important information have been lost due to the shrinkage. So what the idea here is, you take a part of that, a high resolution feature map, some portion from here and give it to the decoder, concatenate with the block that is coming from the decoder and copy it there and concatenate here. Okay. So this portion gives the finer details, whereas this portion is coming from the up convolution, which is having all the information, the feature information. So the channel number in this block is 1024, same as the previous one. And as it is an up convolution, 28 cross 28 was my last features, the output feature maps size. It has become double, which is 56 cross 56. Okay. Then this block is going through a convolution, 3 cross 3 convolution, ReLU. Okay. And we get something, this convolution layer is having 512 filters and the output feature map from here is 54 into 54. Once again, it is going through a convolution, 3 cross 3 convolution, ReLU, and the number of channels there also is 512 and it is 52 into 52 is the output feature map size. Okay. Now, then this is going to this block is whatever the feature map that is coming out of this 3 cross 3 convolution and ReLU. This is going up for a 2 cross 2 up convolution, and there is a skip connection which is coming from the encoder part, copy and crop, and there is a term crop. I will come to this one at the end after explaining this entire decoder block. Okay, and we get this after copy and crop and putting it here, and then we get the size. The channel number is same as whatever we were having here. There is no change in the channel number, which is 512, and this 52 cross 52, it has now become double, which is 104 cross 104, and then there is 3 cross 3 ReLU convolution, no padding ReLU is happening. In all these places there was no padding, and this convolution is having 256 filters and the output size is 102 cross 102. Again another layer of convolution, 3 cross 3 convolution, and the output size is 100 cross 100, and this convolution layer is having 256 filters once again. Then the output is going through another layer of up convolution, and there is once again the repetition of the same thing, copy and crop, and we get this block. So it will have the same channel number as the previous one, which is 256, but the size will be double. It was 100 cross 100 here, so it is 200 cross 200 here, and this goes through 3 cross 3 convolution with 128 filters here, and the size will be 198 cross 198. Again another layer of 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU, and this layer also is having 128 filters and the size will be 196 cross 196. Again there will be a 2 cross 2 up convolution. So it goes like this in this fashion, and there is one more layer of copy and crop from the encoder, and we get this feature map, which is having same number of channels 128 from the previous level, and the size is double of 196, which is 392 cross 392, and this is once again going through convolution, 3 cross 3 convolution, no padding ReLU with 64 filters. The size is 390 cross 390, and again one layer of convolution, no padding ReLU, same operation, and this is the size is 388 cross 388, and here also the number of channels is 64. Then finally it goes to a 1 cross 1 convolution, which reduces the number of channels, and the final channel is, their number of filters is 2, the number of channels here, the final number of channels here is 2. Okay. Now why is this one, and what is this one? The final one is the output segmentation map. And the output segmentation map looks like this. And if you see, after 1 cross 1 convolution, the number of channels are 2, and these 2 channels are because of the output segmentation map where it is black and white. Now there is another thing which I want your attention to be brought into it. There is a crop operation which is happening in this portion of the encoder, and when it is getting a part of from the encoder, it is getting concatenating with the part that is coming from the decoder part. So there is a crop operation that is happening. Now what is this crop operation and why it is happening? So convolution without padding leads to pixel loss in the boundaries. So the output size is slightly less than the input. So what happens here is, when we are going through the downsampling part, what happens is each and every layer there will be the convolution operations are happening, and these convolution operations are without padding. Now whenever there is a convolution operation that happens without padding, the corner pixels are scanned only once, and there is a chance of information loss in the boundaries. So what happens is, whatever output we are getting from after the convolution operation, the size is a bit reduced compared to the original size which is given as the input. Now that entire thing here, it is coming down. So every step there is a reduction in the size, and then these is going through the bottleneck layer, and then it is going for the up convolutions, and where we are here when we are taking these feature maps, if we take the entire size of the feature map from the encoder part and try to concatenate with the decoder's feature map, what happens is there will be a size mismatch, because here when the convolutions are happening in each and every step, there is a size reduction, and that is carried forward here. So that is the reason we crop a portion, just to make sure that when we are doing the concatenation, there is no difference in the size mismatch is not happening, and that is the reason we do this crop operation. Now significance of various blocks in unit architecture, I have explained it, but still just to have a quick run through. In the encoder block, we extract the features and reduce the spatial size through downsampling. It helps the network to learn contextual information and abstract features. Then in the decoder block, the decoder reconstructs the segmentation map by upsampling the compressed representation from the encoder, helps regain the spatial details lost during encoding, and it helps in precise localization of the structure. Then the bottleneck, it bridges the encoder, the contracting path, and the decoder, the expanding path, act as the most compressed representation of the input image. Also captures highly abstracted features before the decoder begins the upsampling process. Okay. And the skip connections, what does it do? It preserves the spatial details that would have otherwise been lost in the downsampling. And feature maps from encoder layer are copied and concatenated with the corresponding decoder layers. So this is how the entire unit architecture works, and this with this one I will conclude today's lecture. Let us have a quick summary. So we have understood in this session, we have understood what exactly image segmentation means. and it is basically highlighting the portions of the images which is of interest zone to me. And it is done majorly for medical images, because that is where we require very specific, focused area where the attention of the doctor needs to go, because and other places of the images may not be of any importance to the doctor. So image segmentation is majorly used in biomedical field, and the architecture, that is, there are two types of image segmentation, the semantic and the instance image segmentation, and then we have the unit architecture, which is the deep learning model for image segmentation task. We have seen the unit architecture has the encoder, the decoder, and a bottleneck parts. The encoder basically downsamples, that means it takes the original image, it reduces or compresses the size, basically through a process called as downsampling, and this reduction in size is required because we want to get meaningful information in a very compressed size. Okay, that is done in the downsampling task, where with each and every layer there is the spatial dimensions keep on getting halved and the number of filters keep on getting doubled, and number of filters getting doubled means more of information we will get from the image. Extract very important features in a very small and compressed form. So that is the work of the encoder. Then we have the bottleneck layer, which is the connection between the encoder and the decoder, and that bottleneck layer that has the most compressed, most meaningful information of the image. Then we have the decoder part, in which we have there will be up convolutions in each and every step, where the image size will be doubled, and why it is required, because at the end whatever segmentation map we are getting out of that unit architecture, that should have exactly the same size as the original one. The original image's size we have already reduced in the downsampling. Now we are going up in the decoder block, where we keep on increasing the size, at the same time keep on taking some portion from the encoder layer, same level encoder layer, so that the fine information which might have been lost during the process of compression, that portions we keep on adding to the decoder's output features, and finally we get the segmentation map. Okay, with this I conclude today's session. In the next session we will look into attention based unit architecture and evaluation metrics for image segmentation task. Till we meet again, keep studying, happy learning, and thank you all.